We were talking a lot before the election about the female gender gap among voters. You heard about this. At the same time, the Trump campaign told us to watch how many men were backing him. So let's bring back Ed O'Keefe for a look at the gender gap in our exit polls. Ed, always good to see you. You know, we kept hearing that about that secret vote, the secret Republican women that would be, you know, in the booth alone and would vote their values. Clearly, there was no secret Republican women.
Well, it wasn't an overwhelming number of them, at least, yeah. I mean, look, the vice president won women, but she only won them by 10 points. You go back 4 years, President Biden won it by a far larger margin, 57 to 42%. So something was up there, despite a woman being on the ballot, despite the changes that were made in women's reproductive health care in the last several years. Enough women stuck with the president-elect.
Yes.
And got to call him that now. And she couldn't pull it off. That's one real problem for them. I think this other one,
What's the other one?
that's going to be studied now for several years to come by both parties is the fact that he cut into the Latino advantage as much as he did. 45% of the Latino vote voted for Donald Trump. Think about that 8 years ago.
Who's talking about mass deportation.
Exactly. He was talking about mass deportation, who has said all the sorts of things, or his supporters at his events have said these things. But it seems at this point that it's caked in.
So how do you explain that, Ed?
Well, because for Latino, an increasing number of them, many I spoke to out on the trail, many others did, they say, look, this is a party, the Democrats, who come to us every 2 to 4 years asking for our votes, telling us they're going to take up things like immigration and they're going to fight people like Donald Trump, and they never do anything about it. And this Biden administration was a fantastic example of that, I would argue. First day on the job, they introduced a big, massive, comprehensive immigration bill and sent it to Congress, and that was it. But they had the talking point for the next 4 years. Oh, well, the first thing we sent to Congress was an immigration bill. They could have taken it up. No. The president never held meetings about it, never gave speeches about it, never used the bully pulpit. And guess what? Latino voters noticed. And guess what? They held it against Kamala Harris. They didn't do anything about border security that he could have done by either leaving Trump administration policies in place or putting in those executive orders sooner, or going to Central America and not botching a TV interview that destroyed her credibility on the issue.
But they said they had that bipartisan bill that Trump
and there again, the White House could have worked, you know, more aggressively, many would argue, to get it done. And then why were they holding those conversations in the year right before the election? Again, they got called on it by Latino voters, and I think there's going to be a real reckoning in the party about, look at what Donald Trump did. He appealed to their economic concerns. He appealed to their safety concerns. Because we know through research through the years that once immigrants get here, they suddenly are among those very concerned about illegal immigration.
That's exactly
right. They got here legally
There's historical precedent for that. And we talked about it before. It began in the 19th century when Irish immigrants first started arriving here, Italian immigrants. A generation later, they are part of the very same coalition that you're describing here. It's no different for Latinos who have been here for multiple generations. Let me ask you something that we were talking about with Joel Payne. What does this mean for the Democratic Party going forward, their strategy? Do you think that they are going to have a come-to-Jesus moment where they look back and they say to themselves, maybe when Joe Biden said he was a transitional president, we should have allowed a nominating process?
I have a feeling that a lot of governors this morning, Governor Newsom, Governor Whitmer, Governor Shapiro, Governor Pritzker, maybe even Governor Moore, are waking up and thinking, maybe I should have done something about it. But not in July when he dropped out, but a year ago or right after the midterms. And I think, you know, we talk about all this ambition and this talent in the Democratic Party. I think many of them are thinking it's time to step up now and see what we can do in 4 years. A lot of lessons to be learned from this, though.
A lot of lessons to be learned.
Self-inflicted.
Ed, thank you.